Welcome to That's Good Broncos prediction episode. I am Brandon. The Broncos are only good in name Perna. That's Good Broncos is the most misleading show name in sports. Luckily, Denver plays the Washington Release the Emails team today, and they are arguably as bad as the Broncos right now. And even if Denver loses this week, our football organization, without a real owner, doesn't have to live with the eternal shame Dan Snyder rains upon the poor football fans of Washington. And honestly, Dan Snyder currently isn't even a real owner, so that's weird. Today we're gonna look at the Broncos and the football team matchup, even though it's gonna hurt. That's good, Broncos. Please, if you want to subscribe here to That's Good Broncos for Broncos podcasts, prediction episodes, and all sorts of crap, you can. Today's episode brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Oh, is it my favorite sportsbook? Yeah. If you use code DNVR when you sign up over at DraftKings, they are giving you some great offers. What are those great offers? Well, you can bet $5 on any football game this week. Bet $5 on a team to win. If that team wins, you're going to get $200 in free bets. Now, I would not bet on Washington and Denver because nobody knows who's going to win that game. But there are some lopsided matchups this weekend. So $5. And if your team wins, you get $200 in free bets. DraftKings safe, secure, reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. They've got same game parlays. Same game in the same day parlays and other parlays. All sorts of great ways for you to pass the time, especially if your team is bad. Again, code DNVR over at DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, I'm not going to give the Broncos a half point for home field advantage. Not going to do it because the only team they beat at home this season is the Jets, which is about as impressive as me beating my 1-year-old daughter in the 40-yard dash. Instead, I'm going to give the Broncos a slight 0.25 advantage, as this game will be played on Halloween, and I think the Broncos are in a better position to dress up and pretend to be a real football team this week than the team that is named football team. Ron Rivera versus Vic Fangio. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about these head coaches because they're two defensive guys who probably wish the NFL was still playing by the rules it deployed in the 60s.
The New York Giants spread formation, which they have used with telling effect.
I think these are two decent head coaches, but I believe we'd be looking at them differently right now if they had the answer at QB. They don't. Ron Rivera proved it's easier to beat cancer than it is to beat NFL opponents when you don't have a franchise quarterback. Here's why I will give Washington the coaching edge, though. Washington has Scott Turner, son of Norv Turner, calling the plays as OC, while the Broncos are forcing Mike Shula, son of NFL legend Don Shula, to live in purgatory as QB coach in the shadows of Pat Shurmur's Shurmuring offensive game plan. Mike Shula was Ron Rivera's OC from 2013 to 2017, meaning he called the plays for Cam Newton during his Super Bowl and MVP run. Then he was kind enough to convince Cam to tank Super Bowl 50 for the Broncos. My point, why don't the Broncos just sign Cam Newton at this time? Half point for the football team. And before I go on, that should be more. I should give them more points. Because today, on Twitter, Andrew Mason put out a video of Pat Shurmur saying,
sometimes there's not much scoring in the first half of games, and then all of a sudden halftime comes along and both teams score a lot. I don't know why that is, I doubt it's the halftime speeches, but just things just get going. You get a better feel for things.
Some offenses just don't score in the first half? What the fuck are you talking about, Pat? No, bad offenses don't score in the first half. Sometimes it just takes a while for the offense to get going. That's a bullshit answer. The fact that you can't explain why the offense is failing or that you're not putting the blame on yourself is fucking mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling. Offenses just don't score in the first half sometime. Yeah, we get going in the second half. You know why you get going in the second half? Because teams have already beat you. Because the game's over and you're scoring points in the fourth quarter when it doesn't fucking matter. Jesus, you make me mad. All right, Teddy Bridgewater versus Taylor Heineke. Who needs to tell Snyder to release the emails? Now, both Teddy and Taylor looked great this season when they played the Giants. One of these teams, though, will walk away from this game feeling like the Giants. Teddy Bridgewater, let's start with Teddy, who played last week despite being about that 70 to 75% health, as he put it. Honestly, watching him hobble onto the field, it looked lower than that. My eye spotted 36% health. Drew Lock should have definitely played last week, especially on a short week, but you've got to have coaches who aren't cowards to make a big boy decision like that. Bridgewater hasn't been the problem, in my opinion, but he hasn't been the answer either. Sort of like James Spader on The Office after Michael Scott left. Anyway, with Jeudy coming back, I think it makes sense to give Teddy a game or two to get back on track. Otherwise, it would be in the Broncos' best long-term interest to move to Drew Lock, who's either going to turn around the offense or suck so bad they'll be in a good spot to draft a QB. And if Drew Lock plays well, you can always include him in a trade package. Because right now his value is 0. Speaking of drafting quarterbacks, the Washington football team has basically admitted that's their plan this offseason. Again, like Bridgewater, Heineke is neither the problem nor the answer, but unlike Teddy, Heineke can actually be pretty damn fun to watch sometimes. Crazy, both Dwayne Haskins and Drew Lock were taken in the same draft, and neither have panned out. Neither were really put in a position to succeed. But the best QB taken in 2019, turns out, was Gardner Minshew in the 6th round. Also not put in a position to succeed, though. And now that I think about it, 2019 was really the 2020 pandemic of the quarterback draft class. No advantages here for either team, but if the football team wins, it will be because Taylor Heineke rushes for 95 yards like he did last week against the Packers. But this time, he doesn't put his knee down when he dives for the goal line, so he actually scores an easy touchdown in that situation. Broncos offense versus football team defense. Release the emails! Here's a stat that could totally blow your mind. Chase Young only has 1.5 sacks this season. Now, I don't know if that means he's not a concern or if it means he's due to have like 6 sacks on Sunday. Not to mention, he only has 4 quarterback hits, while his teammates like Montez Sweat and Jonathan Allen have 10 and 17 respectively. That could mean teams are double teaming the hell out of Young, but his lack of production is probably a big reason this defense is underperforming. An area I'm concerned about is the Washington football team interior, as Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne have 51 pressures on the season with 28 and 23 each. They are both top 6 in that category, and I think we know the issue on the line can be interior protection. By comparison, Draymond Jones has the most pressures on the Broncos defensive line at 15, which is not even top 20. Now here's a great matchup. In the Broncos, you have an offense that's 27th on third downs. Washington's defense is dead last in stopping third downs, allowing 57% this season. So something's got to give. It's the classic stoppable force versus the movable object. Fortunately for the Broncos, they do get Jeudy back after he sprained his ankle week 1. He's the quickest receiver they have, and I'm hoping his ability to get separation on routes can jumpstart this offense and possibly help Denver out on third downs. It is a bit sad that in the Fuller versus Fuller brother matchup, the Broncos are bringing the lesser Fuller into the game. Kyle has essentially been benched and made a trade candidate, while Kendall is holding it down in Washington's secondary with 5 pass breakups, 1 pick, and a sack. This matchup, dead even. No points. Release the emails! Broncos defense versus Washington's offense. After getting humiliated by the Browns, the Broncos traded for linebacker Kenny Young, who had 46 tackles for the Rams. Apparently, letting Dearness Johnson look like Eric Dickerson was the last straw. The Broncos were so desperate at linebacker that they actually tried to talk team employee Todd Davis out of retirement and back onto the field, but they were unable to agree to terms.
Why?
Up front, the Broncos also need to get pressure. After Von Miller's injury, I liked what I saw out of rookie edge rusher Jonathan Cooper, and it looks like he'll get even more snaps with Von dinged up and Malik Reed questionable as well. So the Broncos need sacks. They only have 4 sacks in the last 3 games combined. And they need turnovers. They haven't taken the ball away since Malik Reed forced a fumble against Big Ben in the first quarter of the Stars game. Since that play, the Broncos have forced 0 turnovers and given the ball up a total of 6 times. That's certainly not the winningest of formulas, as far as I can tell. The biggest threat on Washington's offense is easily Scary Terry McLaurin. Ooh, I don't like him with that nickname on Halloween. That seems bad. Who has 300 more receiving yards than anyone else on the team. But the football team also has a sneaky good threat out of the backfield in J.D. McKissic, who averages 10 yards per reception and has become the team's second leading pass catcher. Since the Broncos made Dearness look like Walter Payton, there's always a chance they make McKissic look like the next coming of Roger Craig. Half-point edge here for the Broncos, though. That's how bad the football team offense is. All right, what are some X factors that can determine this game? The Broncos are inducting Peyton Manning into the Ring of Fame on Sunday. As a special honor, I think they should let Peyton go up into the booth and call one play, and then call another, and another, and slowly we start clearing out Pat Shurmur's offense. Tell him he just tested positive for COVID and that he needs to leave the office. Tell him that every week until you can actually fire him. And again, another X factor, it does not seem fair that the Broncos have to play Scary Terry McLaurin on the scariest day of the year. Well, the second scariest day of the year. First is still tax day for me, but I think the Broncos will need to counter his scariness with a spooky corner like Bat Surtain or Vincent Price Callahan. Simpsons. Washington cut longtime kicker Dustin Hopkins in favor of a guy named Chris Blewett, who, as you can probably guess, is not exactly the most clutch, reliable kicker. In a close game between 2 bad teams, you have to figure a guy named Blewett will factor in at the end. My final score, the Broncos do find a way to snap their 4-game losing streak and win 23-21, thanks to a missed last-second field goal. Thanks for watching the Broncos prediction episode. Please subscribe here on YouTube. And come back Sunday evening when Will Keys and I recap the game. Hopefully it's a victory this time.